I can. Can you hear me? Breaking news at the moment. I'm Mark Istook coming to you as we are watching a stolen ambulance. Police are in pursuit of this vehicle, which is headed southbound on 75. And of course, this is a breaking story. I'm going to get you as much information as I have currently. As far as now, we know that this ambulance was stolen from Dallas Fire Station 53, which is located off John West Road. Police have been in pursuit, I believe now, for maybe about 25 minutes or so. We're trying to get you as much information as we can, and I believe we've got our Tanya Iser on the phone as well. Whether she's there now or she's joining us shortly, she'll be able to give us some more perspective on a pursuit like this, what police may be doing. As you can imagine, with a stolen ambulance, drivers around this pursuit may have no idea that this is a pursuit. You see an ambulance with its lights flashing in your rearview mirror, you probably think it's just an ambulance on the way someplace, but obviously this is anything but that. I do want to bring in our Tanya Iser, if she can hear me now. Tanya, what do you know about what we're seeing on the screen?
Hey, Mark. Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, first of all, I want to note this is actually not a quote-unquote pursuit. Dallas police are, in their words, following. Dallas Police Department has a very restrictive chase policy, so they cannot pursue, actually chase unless it's considered a violent crime. So unless this person had, shot someone or kidnapped someone, they cannot pursue with lights and sirens. So right now there are DPD elements. I actually can't even see them on the screen that are I've been told, following. The key thing, following. There was DPD's helicopter was up and was keeping a visual on the ambulance at one point, but just a short time ago, I'm told by a source that the helicopter had to basically stop visually because they were running out of fuel. As you can imagine, a helicopter can only stay up for so long. So my guess is they've gone to go get fuel, and I don't know if they'll get them back up or not. I don't know how long that process takes. As you mentioned, this ambulance was taken from Station 53, and I was texting with another source who said that this is not the first time this ambulance has been taken. I don't know when the last time it was, but apparently the source said that it was stolen from the fire station, quote unquote, again. So, we don't have any details about how, that actually went down.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that other one, Tanya, because you can go on our website. I believe it was February of last year when an ambulance was stolen from Station 53 in Dallas. According to our website, that ambulance was recovered in Louisiana. Whether or not it was the same ambulance as this one that we're seeing again having been taken from that fire station, I'm not sure. That remains to be seen. But I think you made an important distinction before, pursuit versus tracking. And as you can see on the lower third on our screen there, it says they are tracking that stolen ambulance. And given the number of cars that we see on the road, on a highway no less, I can imagine that is by far the safer course of action.
Yeah, obviously, they're going to track it. And at some point, this driver's going to run out of gas. I don't know if this tank was full or half empty or what, but, I can't imagine that an ambulance gets very good gas mileage. So at some point, this is going to end, and hopefully it ends safely. I was texting with a source who was kind of giving me updates, and this ambulance has really kind of made the big circle around Dallas, mainly on 635. And we don't have, at this point, I don't have any description of the suspect, but they're just seemingly, driving along 80, 90 miles an hour is what I was told. And just, we don't know where they're headed or, is this a mentally ill person or what? We just don't know what the deal is with this person. But if you're going to steal an ambulance, it's not exactly like you're going to be able to travel incognito.
Right. Well, it doesn't appear that the lights are flashing, which, maybe they should be. But just to give folks a little bit of understanding of the geography, Dallas Fire Station 53 is on the east side of Dallas. It's a little bit above Interstate 30. I mentioned before, it's off of John West Road near White Rock Community Church. And it looks like, my understanding is they headed east initially on 30, hitting 635, made their way down to 20, and then if you can kind of, from your understanding, set the scene of where they are now.
So there's I hate to say it, Mark. I'm really not clear. It looks to me like they're still somewhere up on 635, right? Or are they still on 75?
I believe they turned. I think they went south on 75, and I'm trying to keep my eyes on the exit signs as we see them, pass underneath.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell because it's exactly. And he's moving along at a fairly rapid clip. I mean, he's not. It's not that he's not driving what I would call erratically. He's not, going from lane to lane. It's not even really clear that he's aware that there's squad cars at some point behind him. I can't see the squad cars, but I am told that there are DPD elements that are, following at this point. So he just seems to be traveling along mainly in one lane. I mean, it looks like he sped up a little bit here, but it's just kind of hard to understand, why you would steal an ambulance. If I was going to pick something to steal, it would not be an ambulance.
No. Okay, now we can see clearly Spring Creek Parkway, Legacy, so in the North Plano area. And
yeah,
Tanya, I lived in Los Angeles for a number of years where these kinds of things were very, very commonplace. Obviously, not as common here, and I believe they have different protocol in Los Angeles in terms of how law enforcement pursues vehicles like these.
We just saw some signs, Spring Creek Parkway, so they're up in that area, like right around the Plano area. Just like he's headed north. I mean, somewhere up into Collin County. Yeah, and you're right. In LA,
it is pretty common. Yeah, I was just about to say, I think the protocol seems to be a little more cautious here, and at least from a public perspective, as long as this vehicle isn't threatening other drivers, isn't at a ridiculously high rate of speed, you would think that would be the more prudent course of action. Now, it doesn't look like it's a marked car that is a few car lengths behind the ambulance, but it does seem like there is the spotlight that you see attached sometimes on unmarked cars. So that could be.
That appears to be an unmarked undercover, an unmarked vehicle, probably carrying plainclothes officers. And it looks like that vehicle has come up in the last couple of minutes, a little closer. Of course, now they've gotten up on an HOV
pulling closer to the ambulance. Again, just to let folks know who are just now tuning in, we've cut into programming with this breaking news: an ambulance stolen from Fire Station 53 in Dallas. Now it looks like it's on 75. Mark Istook reporting here. I'm going to send it back to Jason Wheeler, who I believe is in our studios in Dallas. Jason?
All right, Mark, thanks for the handoff there as we continue to watch this situation unfolding. We're at, just to sort of set the table for you here, we're at 75 going northbound here and near Legacy Drive. That kind of gives you your bearings. We're talking about the Plano area on Highway 75. You can see this ambulance, which was taken from Fire Station 53 in Dallas near I-30 and 635. This has been going on for almost half an hour now, where we see police who are following behind this ambulance, which was stolen. Again, we don't want to call this a chase because Dallas police have a very strict policy when it comes to police chases. At this point, they are said to just be tracking this ambulance and keeping up with what is going on here. Tanya Iser still on the line with us, obviously working her contacts in law enforcement on this one. Tanya, as crazy as it sounds for an ambulance to have been taken, to actually have been stolen from a fire station, this has happened before, in fact, from that same fire station.
It has. They've taken it. This exact ambulance was taken, and as Mark, I think, mentioned, that was sometime last year, and it ended up in Louisiana. And one of our Facebook commenters was noting that the person driving this ambulance is actually using their blinker.
Wow.
Which is kind of amazing, when you're in a stolen ambulance.
Right.
I wouldn't call it safe driving, but they're not moving over from, one side of the freeway to the other side of the freeway. I mean, and I think, police have made a smart decision here not to have a whole bunch of cars with lights and sirens following them, because that could result in something really awful, because, as Mark mentioned, the people that are driving along have no idea that this is a stolen ambulance.
And, you know, Tanya, obviously most of us have never driven an ambulance before. You remarked about how the person has been able to drive this vehicle. That is not an easy vehicle to drive. It does not handle like your typical car might, because you've got this huge box on the back of it. So it does involve a little bit of skill to be able to keep this thing driving smoothly and not be too erratic out there, especially when we're talking about speeds of 80 to 90 miles an hour. Now, it looks like we have exited the freeway here. We've exited 75. I believe that's in Allen right now, coming to a full stop at the stop sign. We don't always see that, as you mentioned, in these chases, Tanya, where we see the driver actually using their signals and stopping at stop signs.
Yeah, that's kind of unusual. And you know, it's just hard to understand where they're headed and what they think they're going to do in an ambulance, no less. It's just kind of doesn't make any sense. And yeah, my feed's a little bit behind yours, but yeah, I'm seeing now that they're stopping at the stop sign, which is, you know, I mean, I'm glad they're not running stop signs, but and I mean, you kind of wonder, is this person aware that there's unmarked elements behind them? I mean, were they aware at one point that there was a DPD helicopter above them? We just don't know who this person is, what they're thinking.
And now we're getting down into, excuse me, now we're getting down into these neighborhoods too, Tanya. A lot of times this is where we see these chases come to an end because there are just fewer and fewer options for this person to keep finding ways to turn and places to turn. And a lot of times it seems like they look for areas that have a lot of tree cover like this and places where they might be able to get out and try to outrun the police once they are able to bring their cars to a stop as well. We don't know also if this ambulance still has gas in the tank. We don't know how gassed up it was when they took that from Fire Station 53 in Dallas. I am curious, Tanya, because you said that the police chopper was overhead a little while ago. It had to go back for refueling, so they had to pull the bird off of this one. I do wonder if that ambulance has tracking equipment on it, though, because as we see with so many fleet vehicles these days, ambulances included, they will include that tracking software in there for dispatchers to know where all the ambulances are at any given time. Looks like it is, again, still making its way through this residential neighborhood there with no clear direction in mind.
You know, I'm not positive, but I would guess it would, because, you know, most DPD squad cars have AVL, which is an automatic vehicle locator. So I'm sure that ambulances would have the same sort of type of software in them. So there's probably other ways that they can keep an eye on where this vehicle is. It looks to me like he's trying to figure out a spot where he can jump out and run, because he's trying to get, like you said, down in a neighborhood and trying to probably find a concealed spot where, actually, I just got a text. I asked somebody if they had AVL, and my source says, yeah, they do.
It has come to a stop here.
They do have AVL.
All right, we've come to a stop here on this residential street. Don't know if that's a temporary thing or if there is a plan to try to get out here. We can see an arm hanging out the driver's side window there. Looks like this person has gloves on, if I'm not mistaken there. Tanya, this is really a hairy situation, not just for the public, because, we get into some dangerous driving that happens here. It's a hairy situation, not just for the public, but obviously for the police officers who are following behind here, because they don't know what they're dealing with. We're off the road and seeing how nimble this ambulance can be. But
did you notice it looks like he's making signs?
It does, and it looks like this person is wearing gloves and possibly a face mask as well.
Well, and actually, we're getting our first look at him. He's got a white T-shirt on, and you're right, he's got a mask on, which is kind of bizarre.
Yeah. But, back to the point here, Tanya, of the danger for police in this situation. If somebody is desperate enough to do something this nuts, it's not a common thing to see somebody go grab an ambulance and start speeding through the city and going over curbs and around traffic. They don't know what they're dealing with here. They don't know what this person may be trying to prove. They don't know what this person may be running from.
Well, yeah, and he's also beginning to drive more erratically. I mean, he's appearing to speed up. He's moving over in lanes. And you're right,
now we're going the wrong
know.
way too. That's always
Yeah.
that is always a scary thing when we start seeing the wrong way and going through intersections with red lights and running those red lights.
And that's when he starts going the wrong way. Now that's when, okay, now we're getting into a safety issue, right? So I wouldn't be surprised now, you start seeing that kind of thing, for them to take more overt action to try to get him stopped.
And gratuitously so here. Yeah, you do see that DPS trooper moving in now, lights going, moving in a little bit closer, as you just talked about there, Tanya, because we're seeing this driver now gratuitously taking the wrong side of the road. There was no need for him to take the wrong side of the road there just a moment ago because the lanes on the side that the driver was traveling on were totally clear, but gratuitously they went over to the wrong way lanes, and that's when we get into the potential for some really nasty crashes involving people who do not know what's coming down the road from them. And we see a school bus going by, so it just underscores all the dangers here.
And I also want to note that the DPS troopers, they don't have the same chase policy, so they can chase. They have a, like I said, Dallas Police chase policy is very restrictive. DPS chase policy is not restrictive like that. So they're not going to have any qualms about, and you can see that DPS trooper has his lights and sirens going. So I'm guessing that, we're going to see police. I see two of them now. You're going to see, there's a whole bunch of them now, taking action to get him stopped, especially now that we're seeing him, go on the wrong side of the road multiple times.
And Tanya, you look at where this driver is in this stolen ambulance. Again, if you're just joining us, an ambulance was stolen from Fire Station 53 in Dallas. They've been going on this circuitous drive all around Dallas, and we are now off in the surface streets in Collin County. And again, you see this driver gratuitously leaning over into the wrong way of traffic there. You see DPS in pursuit. Dallas police have fallen back behind here as well. Tanya, when we start getting off into these neighborhoods like this with these twisting, winding roads, doesn't it make the job for officers that much more difficult? Because if this person is traveling linearly, let's say down the highway or down a main thoroughfare, you can try to get ahead of it and kind of predict where it's going, maybe throw out some stop sticks, see if you can puncture one of those tires. But when they have all of these different surface streets that they're just turning on and going one way and the other, it's very hard for officers to get out in front of.
It is, and also, we don't know, is this guy armed? I mean, we just don't know anything about him. I mean, maybe the police do, but we don't. And so there's a lot of factors they have to take into consideration. Thank God we haven't so far seen any children out walking around or anything like that. He's got to be running out of gas soon because he's been going for quite some time, and it seemed like, I don't know if he made the entire 635 circle, but he made a pretty good circle around, a pretty good amount of circle around Dallas.
Yeah, and these aren't the most aerodynamic vehicles, an ambulance with a big box on the back of it there, so you're not looking at great gas mileage to begin with.
No.
Problem is that they do keep these gassed up fairly well, usually, just in case, they get calls and so forth. It's not uncommon for these crews to gas up these ambulances after each call just to make sure that they've got plenty on hand in case they need it. Looks like we're turning here now on President George Bush Turnpike, I believe that is. Am I wrong about that? Actually, we may be all the way up to Sam Rayburn here. Because I know that we're fairly well north in Collin County.
I think my feed is a little bit behind yours on Facebook, so I think I'm just now seeing him get on the turnpike.
Yeah, I believe that may be 121, the Sam Rayburn there, just because it seems like we've gone such a distance up above Allen, unless we went the other direction. So back onto a tollway, it looks like here, at least we're on the on-ramp, and police still in pursuit here. I don't know how many squad cars there are following behind this ambulance. Interesting thing is, though, Tanya, I would imagine that a lot of drivers who might be in front of this thing are going to give that ambulance a lot of deference because they have no idea. I mean, who would think that somebody had gone and stolen an ambulance and is running from police? They might think this thing is on an active call and that police are there for an escort or are part of a response that this ambulance is going to.
That's right. They don't have any idea, and they have, as a result, people might be moving out of the way because they just don't know why this is happening. there's just people just don't know, and the police have to obviously be very careful as they're chasing this person to make sure that that they both get him stopped, but also give him a fairly wide berth so that hope, because unfortunately we have seen police chases end in terrible ways. So that ideally you want to get this chase stopped and then get this person in custody without anybody getting hurt. Somebody suggested I turn on my TV instead of watching on Facebook, so that's what I've done now. So I'm actually seeing a current feed. It's just weird that it's like, where does he think he's going? He's not going to get away.
Right.
They're not going to stop. They're not going to back off.
Right.
So
and again, as we talked about, there may be tracking software inside that ambulance where dispatchers are able to watch in real time where it's going. And you've confirmed that there is actually that tracking software in there.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So they have AVL, the automatic vehicle locator software in those ambulances. So he's not going to get away.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to catch him. All this is a matter of time at this point to when he either decides to stop or he runs out of gas and has no
as I
choice.
always say with these two, Tanya, it's also a matter of how many more people's lives is this person going to put into danger, because every car that they go near, every pedestrian who's nearby, everyone is being endangered because of the selfish acts of this person who, for whatever reason, has decided to commandeer this ambulance from a fire station in Dallas and take it on a joyride through the city for the past 30 plus minutes here now with police in pursuit. So as you say, these always have to come to an end somehow or another. And usually, Tanya, it ends with the suspect promptly being taken into custody.
Yeah, and that's all I would have.
That was a near miss there as we're coming up on a traffic light. That's what I mean about just the endangerment of people all around this person. And Tanya, we well know that if we haven't seen one of these, it seems like, in a while, and we well know that months ago this wouldn't have seemed as dangerous as it does right now. But if you are out on the roads at all, you know that traffic has come back. You almost wonder what pandemic when you're driving around in Dallas-Fort Worth right now, because it seems like we're almost back to pre-pandemic traffic levels.
That it does, Jason. And I am glad though that he has gotten out of the neighborhoods and that he's back up on long stretches of highway, because the likelihood for him to hit a child or hit someone in a neighborhood was much greater. So I'm glad that he's back up on a freeway. I mean, even better would be him being in custody and be stopped.
Right.
But you can see him weaving in between traffic. That's not good.
Yeah, our freeway came to an end there just a moment ago, and now we're near the 121 Highway 5 area there. We're in McKinney now. Again, this started way down in Dallas near I-30, so it has been quite a route that this person who took this ambulance has decided to take as police continue to try to, and troopers as well from DPS, continue to try to bring this situation to an end. You can see here again, though, we're looking at wrong-way traffic. Now we're seeing troopers meeting it, though, coming from the other direction. And we just talked about this, Tanya, about them trying to get out in front of this person and see if maybe they can possibly get a stop stick or something down to see if they can bring this ambulance to a stop.
Well, it would surprise me if there's troopers probably trying to get up ahead of him. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they are. And I'm not sure, somebody else may know out there, I'm not sure if DPS, you can see them coming right there, allows the use of stop sticks. Some departments have rules on that, and I'm not sure what the DPS rules are on the use of stop sticks.
That's a good point.
I don't know. I believe DPD doesn't allow the use of them. I might be wrong on that, but I don't think they do. Just
because we've seen so many of these things end tragically over the years, Tanya, these departments have really reevaluated in some circumstances after those pretty tragic events. They've reevaluated what their posture is in dealing with something like this.
Yeah, they have. And I mean, we've, in my career, we've covered a lot of chases that have ended, with loss of innocent life. So it's a real line between getting the person stopped and doing it in a way that, where someone innocent doesn't lose their life. So it's it's a tough thing. It's a tough line to walk, and I have no doubt that the DPS troopers will get him stopped.
We're trying to keep tabs on exactly where we are because it's easy to get lost in this with so many twists and turns here, but we're on eastbound Highway 380. Again, we're in the McKinney area now. This has been going for some time now, and again, this driver really seems to have a preference now for those wrong way lanes. For a while there, it seemed like this person was minding their manners on the road a little bit, relatively speaking, Tanya. We were seeing blinkers being used, stopping at stop signs, etc., staying in the lane for the most part. Now we're seeing some pretty erratic stuff going on there with this ambulance, and people who are encountering this unit must be absolutely bewildered, because how often is it that you see an ambulance driving recklessly like that, weaving in and out of traffic, going over medians and into oncoming traffic? Nobody ever sees that. This must be absolutely bewildering to these people.
Well, absolutely, and he clearly now realizes, he has to realize that there are DPS troopers or that there's some kind of law enforcement behind him, and that's, obviously he's attempting to probably figure out, and gosh, he started going the wrong way again. See, that's the stuff that worries me right here, where you're watching him go the wrong way. You just don't know who's in those cars. And this is where really bad stuff could happen.
Well, we saw
him getting up on the phone.
We just saw an officer pulled over there on the side of the road. The ambulance went right past it. Again, you've been watching a stolen ambulance that was taken from Fire Station 53 in Dallas near I-30. We're now in the McKinney area as that ambulance continues to make a run from police who are behind it, who are tracking it, who are in pursuit of it. DPS is out there as well. We've seen some really dangerous driving happening. This has been going again for about 40 minutes now, and now we're in this emergency shoulder lane. And again, traffic is responding to what this person behind the wheel is doing. Just very irresponsible acts. These things almost, they anger you when you watch this, Tanya, because this could be you, this could be me, this could be, our kids, this could be anybody out on the road with this person who obviously has no value for other people's lives, because they are endangering just about every person they come near out there.
Well, that's right. You've got kids. I've got a son, and if I was out on the roads and I didn't know this was going on, and then suddenly to be confronted with a suspect driving like this, and I'm watching it now on TV, and you can see him, like you said, getting on the shoulder and clearly trying to get away from police here. It's just you just hope that this ends with no loss of life. And again, at the beginning of this, DPD wasn't, the Dallas Police Department was tracking him. They were not pursuing him. And then as this got up into the Collin County area, DPS troopers have taken over, and it appeared to me that they were chasing him, but it looks like he's kind of put a little bit of distance between him and them. I don't know if...
Yeah, it almost looks like they have pulled back a little bit here to maybe see if they can cool this off just a bit, because we're getting into some really dangerous driving. Again, we're going to keep monitoring this. This is eastbound 380 in the McKinney area. You can see this stolen ambulance continuing to make a run from police who are in hot pursuit and have been for about 40 minutes or so now. We, just like the police helicopter, ours needs to pull away so that it can refuel. We keep wondering how much fuel that ambulance still has left as it continues this run from police. We're going to keep monitoring this situation. As soon as something happens, or as soon as we're able to get you a picture again, we will bring it right back to you here on air. For now, though, we're going to get you back to your regular programming. you.